From Public Radio International, this is The World. A co-production of the BBC World Service, PRI, and WGBH Boston. It's Friday, May 14th. I'm Marco Worman. More violence in Thailand as government troops fire bullets and tear gas at protesters. Also, Greece wants to crack down on tax evasion. Some say the country needs to follow the U.S. model.
Make people pay the taxes that they owe and stick them with penalties when they don't. That's what we do in the United States, and that's what Greece is going to have to do also.
And later, Londoners doing yoga in the Buff.
Well, I do tell everyone that I come to this class, and it's always interesting to see the reaction. Everyone's jealous. Everyone would love to do it.
First, the news.
BBC News with Sue Montgomery. President Barack Obama has angrily accused oil companies of trying to duck the blame over the Gulf of Mexico oil slick and said he would act to change the relationship between the industry and regulators.
For too long, for a decade or more, there's been a cozy relationship between the oil companies and the federal agency that permits them to drill. Seems as if permits were too often issued based on little more than assurances of safety from the oil companies. That cannot and will not happen anymore.
Speaking after discussing the huge oil spill with senior advisers, Mr. Obama said the system to prevent such disasters had failed badly. Efforts to stop the oil leak are continuing, but forecasters say the weather could drive the oil slick ashore this weekend. At least 8 people are known to have died in the latest bout of violence that's engulfed the Thai capital Bangkok as soldiers fought protesters around their fortified camp. Explosions and gunfire have been echoing around the city centre. In a statement from exile, the ousted Thai leader Thaksin Shinawatra, who retains the loyalty of many red-shirt protesters, accused the authorities of violating human rights and urged them to pull the troops back. Rachel Harvey reports from Bangkok.
The government spokesman has gone on television this evening to try and reassure people. He said that the security forces had only fired when they themselves came under attack. And he said that it would be safe soon, that the whole thing was under control, and that the aim was just to contain the area, not to clear it of protesters. Well, even that is proving a very tough task for the security forces.
Police in Iraq say a suicide bombing at a crowded football stadium has killed at least 10 people and injured more than 100. It happened in the northern Iraqi town of Tal Afar, near the city of Mosul. From Baghdad, Gabriel Gatehouse.
Police in Tal Afar say that a suicide bomber detonated explosives hidden inside his vehicle near the local stadium, where a football match was underway. A crowd of people standing at the entrance to the ground bore the brunt of the blast. Witnesses said that the first bombing was then followed by at least one other explosion. Earlier on Friday, a website linked to Al-Qaeda in Iraq announced that it had replaced a senior militant who'd been killed last month in a joint operation by Iraqi and US forces. The statement warned of what it called dark days of blood to come.
Share prices and the value of the euro have fallen sharply as investors become concerned that economic measures designed to tackle big debts in Greece, Spain and Portugal will stifle growth in the eurozone. The euro hit its lowest level against the dollar for 18 months. Stock markets closed more than 3% down in London and Frankfurt and 4.6% down in Paris. The Spanish stock market index closed more than 6% lower. World News from the BBC. Tens of thousands of protesters have gathered in the Albanian capital, calling for a recount of last year's parliamentary elections, which they claim were rigged. They've come out in support of hunger strikers who have been camped outside the Prime Minister's office in Tirana for the past 2 weeks. Our Balkans correspondent Mark Lowen reports.
This is the second huge demonstration in Tirana in the space of 2 weeks. The last protest drew tens of thousands, and this one appears to be of a similar scale. Socialist-led opposition activists marched through the streets of the capital with banners and slogans calling for the government to reopen the ballot boxes from last June's general election, which they believe was fraudulently won by the Democratic Party. But the government says tampering with the ballot boxes would be unconstitutional and are standing firm.
Egypt has rejected as